money that I collected. It's honorable that brought
contribution to Nigerian peace.
Me, I want men, all of them look at this.
But there comes a time when you want to take steps every day to make this country a better place.
And the new Nigeria is
indications telling them it's time to change.
All colors, shades, angles, and perspectives can be overwhelming in our present world of information overload. This is introducing Ground Zero.
Ground Zero comes up from 5 to 6 p.m. every Tuesday and Friday on Invicta FM and 5 to 6 p.m. every weekday on Procyon Radio and Television. Ground Zero is a production of the Procyon Media. Tune in.
It's a beautiful and a lovely Tuesday evening, and you are listening to us from the middle of the world. I call Kaduna State the middle of the world. Yes, my name is Ehis Agbon. It's time for Ground Zero. Ground Zero is a never dull moment program on radio and now on television and of course on all social media handles, where we look at topical issues in the polity, and with guests in the studio, audience in the hall, we try to analyze all of this. The reason is that our country must be the best country in the world, and we can only achieve that when everybody contributes their own quota in their own little way. We have started the Meet Your Candidate series. And last week we had one candidate in the studio with us, and this week we'll be having two. But first we had the first one on Tuesday, and the second one would be on Friday. And if you've been listening and watching our live stream, I told you that today we'll be having the Kaduna State PDP Deputy Governorship candidate with us. The governorship candidate would have been here, but due to some campaign activities and some other things, he's engaged somewhere. And of course, it's not just a one-man horse race. For every governorship candidate to even be qualified, you must have a deputy. And we have his deputy with us here in the studio today. The deputy governorship candidate of PDP in Kaduna State is Dr. John Ayuba. And he's with us in the studio, and together we'll be looking at what the People's Democratic Party has in stock for the electorate and why they are even on the ballot paper. They'll tell us all of that and how, of course, they intend to handle governance when it is their turn to be in charge of Kaduna State. So I want to welcome you to the studio this evening. You're welcome to Ground Zero.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
Thank you, listeners out there.
All right. Now, first and foremost, who is Dr. John?
Well, in very brief, John Ayuba is from a very sleepy village called Samarokataf in Zangon-Kataf local government. I was born about 64 years plus ago, and everybody who's a rural person starts his school from the rural area. So I started my elementary school in a school that used to be called St. Anthony's Catholic School. There I finished my 7 years in the primary. I proceeded to a school that was also run by the mission. It was a seminary, St. Joseph's Seminary, Basawas area. From there I proceeded to Ahmadu Bello University. I was there in the School of Basic Studies for my A-levels, after which I went in for my degree program. When I finished, the university asked me to return after my youth service to join the academic ranks in the Department of Business Administration. I was there for about almost 8 years, and after which I left to the banking industry, what people usually refer to as the greener pastures. I was in the banking industry for about 25 years, and retired sometime in 2013. 2013, because I was invited by the late Yakuwa, the governor of Kaduna State, to serve him as Commissioner for Finance. So I left the bank on leave of absence, so technically I was still a staff of the bank. But after he died, I made up my mind and not to return to the banking industry. So I went into politics full time, and that's what I've been doing. And by the special grace of God, I have this man, Right Honorable Issa Ashiru, who I'm still trying to understand why he found me a fit and proper person to take as his running mate. And that is how far I have gone in politics as of now.
All right. In brief, I'm sure the viewers and listeners now understand and know the person of Dr. John Ayuba. Now, you are in politics, and they say someone from the academia, yes, as a commissioner, then you tasted a bit of politics, though as a technocrat. But of course, politicking is all part of the game. Now that you are here, first, what real value are you bringing on board as the running mate of the People's Democratic Party governorship candidate?
First and foremost, the Nigerian Constitution provides that every governor must have a running mate.
Yes.
And Kaduna State, under the PDP, has had a culture of ensuring that if the governor comes from the northern part of the state, his deputy comes from the south.
Yeah.
And I am lucky to come from the south this time around, that Issa Ashiru is the candidate. So the value I'm adding is first bringing my people of southern Kaduna to the fore in terms of representing their interests first and foremost, but the interests of the larger Kaduna State, because the oath of office that the deputy takes is not to be a deputy governor of any section, but of the entire state. But for political correctness and for the culture that the PDP has always had, it always says we want to bring everybody together, and that is why I've been brought on board. So in addition to that, I am bringing a private sector perspective to governance. And when you talk of private sector perspectives in governance, we try to ensure that the input or what you are putting in, if you are given resources to manage, you want to be sure that the output or what you are bringing out to society is commensurate with what you are given, which is what you mostly don't find in the public service. Nobody tries to measure that. So I'm bringing that perspective, that the resources of the state must be managed in such a way that there is justification in what we have done. That when you look at what is on ground and the resources that we have, you can say, yes, we've managed them properly. I am also bringing to the table a technical perspective. Having run for 25 years as a banker, there are aspects of managing financial resources that I'll bring to the table. And I gave a little bit of it when I was Commissioner of Finance under the late Ibrahim Yakowa. And lastly, but by no means the least, I am bringing what I have said is Right Honorable Issa Ashiru, the perspective that governance is not about knowing it all, but having the humility and having the presence of mind to find out what society desires, and that it is that you bring and ensure is implemented.
Wow. You've heard what he's bringing on board. I can't be the judge. You, the listener and the viewer, will be the judge if he's ably qualified to be part of this team. And I'm sure by the time we open up the phone lines and also start to read the comments on our various social media handles, that we will be having an idea of the kind of judgment that you're going to pass on the gentleman and the running mate of the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party in Kaduna State. Now, let's come back home and let's look at all of these political intrigues that's been plaguing Kaduna State. For in a few months' time, it will be 8 years that the People's Democratic Party has been out of business in Kaduna State, and even in Nigeria as it were. With this gap that has been created for so long, and knowing that in Nigeria and also in Kaduna State as a part of Nigeria, when someone is out of the political loop for so long, you are going to lose so many grounded politicians that have turned politics as their business, being that without politics they cannot survive, so they must have to move to another political party. Now, how is the PDP going to give assurance to this category of persons that we can never underrate their political value, but have moved out of the PDP into other political parties? Or is the PDP like some other parties that say they can go to wherever they want to go to of no value? How is the party going to bring those that have moved on board? Because it's a thing for everyone to be part of, if you really want to win.
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. Interestingly, PDP is my first port of call. It's the only political party I've ever belonged to when I joined politics. And it was very deliberate in the decision as to which party to join. It is not because the party was in power, but from my analysis I found that it had a culture that tied in very well with the way I look at life. And that culture that it had is that culture of inclusiveness, that culture of ensuring that everybody is treated fairly and that there is equity, that as much as possible, whatever belongs to Caesar should be given to Caesar, and what belongs to God should be given to God. I found that, and it started because the founders of the party saw the need to unify this country. And if you look at it, without unity, they wouldn't have been able to drive out the military. So those who are old enough to remember the endless transition of the military, especially under the military president Babangida, will know that the politicians had to come together to be able to really get the military out of power. So I think the founders of this party, both at the national level and in Kaduna State, realized that if we are going to move the society forward and go away from those things that held development back in the country and in the state, then there was need to get everybody on board. And that sits down well with my culture. I hardly look at somebody and I feel he has no relevance. At times I tell people and they laugh that even a madman on the street has his relevance. There's a day you will need him. There are certain risks that a sane person will not take. It's only a madman that will take that risk.
That's the reality of life.
So everybody in this life matters. And that is why the party has continued to hold, I have continued to hold that party, the PDP, as a party that I really love. And if you look at the state level, we were lucky to have those who brought the party to the state. Some of them have died, some are still alive. But the most prominent one that is still alive today is Senator Ahmed Mohamed Bakari.
My father.
And this is somebody who got designed to be our first governor. And because of the culture of the PDP, and possibly his own innate character, he pulled everybody in Kaduna State together. To the extent that nobody thought that the PDP will ever be defeated in Kaduna State. And in fact, one of the attractions for me in joining politics were some of the developmental projects that he brought all over the state. I've told you I'm a village boy, and as recently as 2003, my village had no water, had no electricity, had, we're lucky we had a federal road that runs through through that village. But so many other modern amenities we didn't have. He was able to bring those things between 2003 and 2007. It was, so for me, I felt that really there was service beyond, there was a higher service, or there is a higher service beyond just going to work and earning enough to take care of yourself and your family, which is what he did. So he's endeared himself, to the state. And such people have continued to ensure that we have something to look back to and say, yes, it is good that we belong to the party. So for some of us, for instance, that have decided never to leave the party, it is because of the philosophies that it has and what the founders of the party have shown to us. And I dare to say that the people of Nigeria and the people of Kaduna State have well understood it now. It was divine that we had an opportunity to test another group, of people. You would say, well, some of the people that went to the APC and took over power in 2015, they came from PDP. Yeah. In every household, you must have people who are good and bad. You have the good, the bad, and the ugly. They left because they went to a party that had no philosophy. You could see what they have come up with. And why the PDP has remained up to this moment is because it has registered its mind in the hearts of Nigerians. And that is why it will continue to be relevant.
Yes, you've heard it. The party has registered its mind, and that's why it will continue to be relevant. We are presently in the middle of the second in the Meet Your Candidates Forum series, and it's one where we bring up the candidates in the coming general election and give you an opportunity to add your voice to the conversation while being part of the general talk. So we'll just take a break for a few minutes, and we will be right back right here on the program Ground Zero. All right, welcome back from that timeout. You are listening to Ground Zero, and it is the Meet Your Candidate Forum series. And today on Meet Your Candidate Forum series, we have the Deputy governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the studio with us this evening, and he has told us a bit about himself. But for the benefit of those that are just joining us now on Invicta FM, we just want him to, if possible, can we compress it into 1 minute? Well, a brief about you.
I am John Ayuba.
Yeah.
Born about some 64 years ago. A teacher, a banker, a politician. That's in summary.
All right, you've had him, a teacher, a banker, a politician in summary. Before we took that break, you basically told us the reason why you are vying for this particular office, because you are comfortable with the People's Democratic Party, one, and secondly, because you believe that the People's Democratic Party and their candidate in the person of Honorable Issa Ashiru Kodan has the capacity to deliver good governance to the people of Kaduna State. That's the reason why you are in the ship to deliver just that. Now, let's talk about what exactly the party has in stock for the people of Kaduna State. And of course, for those listening to us, we will open the phone lines at the right time. But for those that want to send in their questions now, you can do that by going to Procyon RTV. That's PROCYON RTV, and drop your questions and comments in respect of the program so that we can properly have everything done the way it should be done. All right, tell us what the agenda or manifesto or the purpose for the PDP is for the people of Kaduna State.
If I'll put in a nutshell, It is not by coincidence that the ticket of Right Honorable Isa Shuru and myself is called the Rescue Mission. So let me start from there. What are we trying to rescue the people of Kaduna State from? We've gone around this state. We've interacted with members of society, both the high and the low. We've interacted with religious leaders. We've interacted with community leaders. And from all facets, we found that this state today has to be rescued from insecurity. First and foremost, people can't sleep with them just like mere animals, chicken, goats. So there's a desire of Right Honorable Isa Ashura and myself to rescue this state from insecurity. We want to rescue this state from hunger. If you are alive, then you must eat to continue to live. We found that people are in abject poverty. You see a gentleman well dressed today and he walks the street, and they don't even live anymore because they're being killed. The person next to you to hear. If you hear what he will tell you, it will almost bring tears to your eyes. He tells you he has not eaten for 2-3 days. So all that fine dress we are saying is just a cover-up. What about rural areas? Go to the rural areas. They can't go to the farms. If they farm, they can't harvest. In some of the rural areas, they have to pay ransom to those people who have taken over their territories, the bandits who have taken over their territories, to be able to access their farms. So there's hunger all over the land. There is unemployment. When this government in power, the APC government in the state came in, at least if there was unemployment, and I know there was unemployment, but we were still recruiting new people to replace those ones who were leaving offices. But this APC government has not only failed to recruit new people, but has sacked the old ones. And even the ones who said they have recruited, they have sacked them again. So we have to rescue this state from arbitrariness. Every person who goes into an employment contract signs that contract and it tells him the terms and conditions of service. If I want to leave, these are the conditions I must satisfy. I must give 30 days notice, or I pay the 30 days salary in lieu of that notice. Yeah. In the same manner, if you want to sack me, you must give me due notice. Because you are dealing with human beings. The act of termination of a contract does not affect only the person who is on the job. It affects his family. It affects his extended family. That is why those who put those conditions, they are not madmen. They know that you are dealing with a human being, and there is need for you to create a transition for him to be able to cope with that separation of himself and the job. But we've had a situation where people have been arbitrarily sacked, and worse still, the entitlements, what they are supposed to get when you ask them to go, they have not been paid. What could be more inhuman than that? We want to rescue the state from that. The insecurity in the state has been accentuated by the fact that the government, either for lack of wisdom, has created so many ungoverned spaces. We had these traditional institutions. The traditional institutions, apart from the cultural benefits of their keeping the culture of the communities, they were an important information source for the security services. Anybody that goes into a village within a couple of hours, the village head or the ward head knows that there is somebody who doesn't belong to this committee that has come in, and they seek advice. Do we accept him? And if we accept him, please watch, because we don't know him. He may be here for some dubious activities. Now, people walk in and out of these rural communities because the rural communities don't have anybody to report to. They just watch people come in and go out. And that is why the bandits, having discovered this vacuum that was created, have filled the vacuum. And that is why they're asking the rural communities to pay taxes to them. They are asking them to pay access fees to their land. They're asking them to pay fees to ensure the safety of their wives. So there are so many things we're trying to rescue this state from. And that is, in a nutshell, what we want to do. Our educational system is in shambles. In 2014, I left as commissioner in 2013, but by 2014, our educational system, let's even use the WAEC as a yardstick for measuring performance at that time. In the northern states, we were number 1. In Nigeria, we're between number 6 and 7. Today, because of the way the government has bastardized the educational system, it has ensured that in the northern states, we are between number 6 and 7.
In the northern states,
we are
Kaduna used to be number 1.
Sokoto is ahead of us, you can verify that. Benue is ahead of us. Kogi is ahead of us. I mentioned Benue.
Yes, Benue.
All those states are ahead of us before they were learning from us. And why is that so? It is because there is first an inadequacy of teachers. You came, you found teachers, you said they were not qualified, you sacked them. The ones that you recruited, within a short period of time, you sacked those you deployed. So many of those they even claimed to have employed, they were not deployed. They were not sent to schools. Today, if you go, you find a primary school that has from classes 1 to 5, you find they have 2 teachers. Who will they teach? Morale is at its lowest ebb for those who are still remaining in the teaching, because they don't know when next their own sack letter is going to come. There is job insecurity. And you can't manage education that way. Any society that wants to die, you first see the sign from the way it manages its education. We in 2011 had an exercise to look at the quality of teachers, to see how to improve the teachers. The Ministry of Education called all teachers and they analyzed and brought out the inadequacies of each teacher. Those that were found to have fake qualifications, I hope you get me right, fake qualifications, those who were not supposed to be teachers, we asked them to go because you didn't train at all. Those certificates were not yours. First, you've committed a criminal act by bringing certificates that were not yours. We asked those ones to go. Now, those whose certificates were genuine and who had been teaching, the purpose of evaluating every teacher or every worker is to find out the skills gap that are there so that you train him to cover up, fill that gap, and he continues to work. Unfortunately, this is the first time in my life that I've found that you set a test to know the skill level of an employee, and you use that information to ask him to go. So, are you ever going to find a worker or a teacher who will be 100%? There's no human being that's 100%. And that is why even those who are in government go for refresher courses. Why do you go for a refresher course? So that you learn new things, so that you reinforce those things that you are teaching at the moment, that you are doing at the moment, and the society moves forward. So there are so many things that we need to rescue the state from. This is just a tip of the iceberg.
Okay. You've had the tip of the iceberg. Yes, you're listening to Ground Zero on Procyon Radio, reaching you via Invicta FM right here from Kaduna. And is a Meet Your Candidate forum. And in the studio we have quite a number of persons. I would randomly just bring over the microphone and introduce the guest that we have in the studio, because it's sort of like a town hall media forum. So, Michael, do we have Michael there? Yes. All right, pass the microphone. Let's start from this far end. We'll quickly have self-introduction.
It's Uchenna Izegalo. I am the host of Ani Bundibo on Procyon TV and television. Sorry, to Procyon radio and television.
All right, next.
My name is Otumba Olusegun Folorunso. I am the immediate past director of media of Progressive Congress, Kaduna State. And as I speak, the coordinator of independent campaigners for PDP all over Nigeria.
All right. Next.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ehis. Honorable, you're welcome, sir. My name is Musa Bala. I'm a political scientist, political analyst. I'm a practicing farmer, and at the same time, I belong to the Poultry Association of Nigeria, Kaduna State branch, and at the national level. You're welcome, sir.
All right. Yes, next.
My name is Bomba Dauda. I'm a journalist, CEO, MD, Guber Court, an online publishing organization, and also the publisher of Guber Court magazine.
All right. We'll go to the far end.
You are welcome, Your Excellency. I'm Femi Oyelola. I'm a correspondent with People's Daily newspaper and also publisher of News Investigation, an online platform.
All right.
Good evening, Your Excellency, listeners and viewers all over. My name is Jacob Angelo Dixon. I'm a media strategist.
Okay, my name is Edward John Auta. I'm a member of the media team, PDP campaign management in the state.
All right. So those are the guests that we have in the studio, and they will be asking some questions of the deputy gubernatorial candidate of the Kaduna State People's Democratic Party. So the questions will be coming from the crowd, and like I told the listeners and those watching us on Facebook and YouTube, and of course for those listening to us from wherever in the world, you can start to compose your questions, and you can send the questions to our various social media platforms. We'll start from Dauda. He has a question for His Excellency. Dauda.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
My question is about your policy direction. Let me start with the current government. From its posture, it's more of capitalist, because the current government places profit ahead of social contract. Everything that has to do with this current government must be profit driven. Now, I was at the BBC Hausa debate, which was organized for the Kaduna State gubernatorial candidate. And Isa Ashurukudan said, if given the opportunity, if he becomes the governor of Kaduna State, he's going to place premium on developing the small and medium scale enterprises. And also, I went through your 5-point agenda. I saw from all indication, it has the trappings of socialist, because it's talking about welfare, it's talking about human capital development. Are you saying that when your government, or if you are able to establish the government of Kaduna State, is your government going to tilt towards capitalism, or is going to be based on socialism?
All right, thank you. Let's go. Let's go to the back. We'll come to you.
Okay.
I want to do it front, back.
Okay.
Yes, Femi.
Your Excellency, you are coming from a zone that is actually, I always define as a local area for any other party, PDP enclave. But today it seems like the story is taking a new dimension. You have 4 gubernatorial candidates coming from that zone, the Labour Party, Reverend Toya, Senso Zegi, and recently, you have also the PRP National Vice Presidential Candidate from Dazo, Zego Hero. Now, how are you going to ensure that PDP remain, Southern Kaduna remain a PDP zone, especially now that you are coming there to become from there to Sakashimi Ibrahim? How are you going to carry the people of Southern Kaduna along, just as has been done in the past?
All right, Your Excellency, mine is a very simple one. From the feelers we're getting around, a lot of people are yearning for PDP to come back to power, both at the state and at the national level. Which assurances do they have that if you come back to power, they will not be disappointed? Thank you.
All right. So, Matthew, you can... Yes.
Sorry, my name is Jacob Ongel Dixon.
All right. Bring it to the microphone to the front now.
Okay, as a farmer and teacher, you know...
Issues that have been raised. So I'm glad to respond to you, to reaffirm what Right Honorable Shuru has told and continues to tell the people of Kaduna State. Mr. Dauda Bomba, you had asked about the policy direction of the government. The present government is capitalist, and whether we will become socialists when we come on board. The terminologies are very interesting. I wouldn't know what the present government is really, but it is not capitalist. I think I am yet to find the nomenclature to use to describe what they are doing.
It is personalist.
Because it may be personalist, as some people suggest. It's family business. It's family government, or government of a few friends.
Chronism.
Chronic chronism that is happening, where you take the resources that belong to an entire people and you appropriate them to just a few individuals. We have houses that were built even during the Sardona era. Permanent secretaries, top civil servants have been living in them. Just in one fell swoop, you've sold all of them out to individuals, and there's no justification. Governance, it requires that those who are at the center of governance should be nearby, so that when decisions are to be taken, your response time is going to be quick. You sell these houses, your next set of permanent secretaries will be living in Jushi, in Zaria, where they can afford to get land and build houses for themselves. Will you tell a permanent secretary in the middle of the night, because there's a crisis in Kaduna State, for him to come and meet the governor, for you to take a decision? If the next set of permanent secretaries live in Kachia, because that's what they can afford legitimately, to get land and build houses, will you tell them that by midnight they should leave Kachia and come to Kaduna? They didn't think through what they are doing, or maybe they were blinded by the fact that they needed to help themselves. So I don't think that what they had was capitalism. Capitalism, let me tell you, says you want private capital to work for everybody. So it ends up being in a few hands, but it works for everybody. And why, for instance, do you give you ask the capitalists to pay less tax? Because they say when you do that, they will deploy that money to generate employment, because the drive to make more profit for themselves will make them to need more hands. So they are solving the problem for the government and society by having less people unemployed. But I don't think that what they're doing is capitalism. So we'll find a term for it. We're not going socialist, because what we're looking for is for every human being to have a basis to live in society, has a basis to feel that the government cares for him. That is, I would prefer not to have a term for it, because what we have today is a complete absence of governance. So what we want to do, you find a term for it, is to ensure that the man in Kaduna State feels the presence of government. When he is invaded by people he doesn't know, the government is there to come and save him. That he doesn't need to go to sleep thinking that by the next day he's going to get a letter that he's been sacked without due process. We want to have a government that follows due process. A government that honors contracts, whether employment or whatever it is, so that everybody can sit down and plan. But even most importantly, for the downtrodden, the rural folks that have looked up to government all these years because they are right there and they are handicapped by so many things. They are mainly farmers. You say you are not going to give them subsidy because you say agric is business. Yes, agric is business. But the person who is in subsistence farming, is he in business? When all he farms, he eats it. So what is that business? Business of feeding himself? That is not, that is not the kind of business we are talking about. And in any case, even countries of the world that have made it, that are doing very well, America, the UK, they subsidize their farmers. A lot of people will remember that there were times that America will buy wheat produced by its farmers.
Yeah.
Because they don't want them to incur losses. If there's no market for it, they buy it and dump it in the high seas.
Yes, yes.
Very recently, the government in the UK had a budget of close to £500 billion to subsidize electricity for the citizens of the UK who were just emerging from the coronavirus. Because they didn't have the means, most people have lost their jobs. And if you didn't subsidize them, there will be no heating in their homes and they will die during the winter. That is what government exists for. To ensure that when the people you are managing, the people that you say you are governing, when they are down, you lift them up.
Yeah.
And when they are up, you sustain them where they are, so that they can continue to move from there. So we will be a government that is there for the people and whatever it is that they need. Mr. Femi asked about whether we are still going, PDP is still going to, is still comfortable in southern Kaduna because of the preponderance of many candidates and they say. Let me assure you, the people of southern Kaduna have traditions and they have ways they do their things. We have elders, we have youth, we have women. In the past, we have always sat down at the end of the day to determine what is in the overall interest of the community and we take our decision. And this will not be different this time around. Politics, democracy necessarily ensures that everybody is free to come out and run. But we will come out and the final day to sit down and we'll say, now, which is the vehicle that will give us victory? And I'm sure the people of Southern Kaduna know that the vehicle that will give us victory is the PDP. And at that point, we will tell our brothers who are in other parties, come, let's join hands and defeat this common enemy called the APC that has brought hardship to everybody. And I care to say, to tell people, the hardships they brought is not only to Southern Kaduna, it's the entire state. Go to Beninangwari, go to Giwa, go to Makarfi, you find the same, the problems, are the same. Poverty knows no boundary. Everybody is insecure. Everybody is hungry. So there is, the problems are the same. So we are going to put hands together, not only in Southern Kaduna, but in the entire state, to ensure that we rest APC where it should be.
I think let's get some other callers calling in because time is going, so that if they ask questions that are in line with the other ones, we can just lump them together and respond to them. The number for those that are listening that want to call in, the numbers to call to be part of the program is 0809 4646 206. That's 0809 4646 206 for those that are listening to us via terrestrial on Invicta FM. Call in now so that His Excellency can also add your questions to those that he is responding to right now. That's 0809 4646 206 is the number to dial. The phones are open now. We have our first caller. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Ground Zero.
This is is Awus from Nasarawa.
All right, Awus from Nasarawa. You are welcome to the program.
You are doing a nice job.
Thank you so much. What's your question for His Excellency?
We want a vibrant party like the PDP to rescue Kaduna State, because Kaduna State is in a state of nightmare. Security-wise, if the government cannot protect the life and property of its citizens, that government has lost its community to stay in power. So I'm urging the PDP to widen their scope, enlighten the people, mobilize the people, so that we will take out the APC in this coming election. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Awusko. We'll take the next call now. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening. Wow.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. You are welcome to the program. What's your name and where are you calling us from?
My name is Comrade Gabriel, the Texas man.
All right, Comrade Gabriel, the Texas man. Let's quickly have your question.
I welcome the presidency and all the guests at the studio. But one of the things that took my interest is sales of certain property in Kaduna. Because Kaduna Texas Limited, for example, if not because of the governors, National County governor, which our governor is a member, they would have sold everything in Kaduna Texas Limited. But the governor says no, don't sell anything. This property belongs to Lake and Sokoto and it is legacy. And I also appeal to this radio program, it is the producer of this program, it is. The kindly intervene in the cruise Kaduna Texas Limited and the one not 10%.
Okay.
We have been here since 2002, nobody paid us anything. And we are thinking that because among people who even campaign what the presidency came to KT at that time before it came in 2015. In fact, it promised that maybe the government of KT is going to return Texas. It's up to today, not yet. So please, and we are pleading with him to make sure to assist so that we can be able to return the Texas, pay on our terminal payment and gratuity. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so very much, Comrade Gabriel. Hello, good evening. Welcome to Ground Zero.
Good evening, Mr.
Good evening. You are welcome to the program. What's your name and where are you calling us from?
Good evening.
Say again.
Good evening to you.
Comrade Gabriel, your line is really breaking up. We can barely hear what you say. Maybe you change position and call us back. Hello, good evening.
I think he has spoken very well.
Okay.
But I think the PDP now needs to reach out to some other political if we need them.
We really cannot hear you, so let's take the next call. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening, you are welcome to Ground Zero. What's your name and where are you calling us from?
Yeah, my name is Donald. I'm calling from Agbon Travel.
All right, Donald. Let's quickly have your take, your question, or your contributions.
What we need is a vibrant leader. We don't want a leader that will get the people confused. Take for instance now. Look at Prescott. People have been in the police station since yesterday looking for fuel. I could not find fuel. A liter of fuel, black market is 500 to 600 naira. People are stranded in this state and in the country as a whole. We don't need people that will come and make promises, empty promises, and go and pass the money they will pass for themselves and their families. What we need is a good leader that has the people at heart, that can be able to bear with the people. That is my own contribution. That is what we need in this country. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you so very much. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening.
Hello?
Yes, good evening. Welcome to the program. What's your name and where are you calling us from?
Hello?
Hello, you are welcome to the program.
Hello?
Hello, good evening. Hello?
Are you hearing me now?
I can hear you loud and clear.
You are hearing me. This engineer, mother back.
All right, Engineer Emmanuel, quickly.
The question I'm asking, the Deputy Governor of PDP, I think he has spoken very well. What are they doing to reach out to other political parties so that they'll be able to join forces together to take away APC on government come March? So that if it is the governor and that of the presidency will have a problem, in any other offices, I think that will be on the contest with them.
Okay.
So they cannot take away APC. They need to join force with other parties so that they will be able to take away APC from government, because APC was never ready for governor. Now look at those old someone in their houses that they drove them away and send it to family and friends. So how will they do if they comes back to power? How will they do justice to those civil servants that injustice was done to them? Because on the normal ground they ought to like buy their house with some instrumental payment, but this government came on board, drove them out. Or how will the civil servant be able to afford 40 million to buy a house? So please, if they come on board, will they do justice to those civil servants that injustice was done to them? And I will advise them to reach out with other parties.
All right.
Force to take out APC so that they don't come back. Because the other ones told us that
Engineer Emmanuel, you've already nailed it. Let's move on. All right. Thank you so much, Engineer Emmanuel. We'll take one more call from the listeners and we'll come back to the studio to start taking. Okay, let's take this one. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, you're welcome to Ground Zero. You are our last caller for now before we take some questions. What's your name and where are you calling us from? Isaac, where is Isaac calling us from?
I'm calling from television.
All right, quickly, let's have your question or comment.
My only question. What will my honorable and his government do should they clinch power and coming election and on entertainment industry?
Okay.
Because it's a very good factor that drives an economy.
Okay.
And so far so good. We need it to be pushed by the government.
Okay. All right, thank you so much. Let's return back to the studio now. Respond to some of these. And this to let you know that the next session of Meet Your Candidate will be coming up on Friday. And we already have 2 political party candidates lined up. Hopefully before end of the program, because we'll get a confirmation from one before end of the program, we'll let you know. But meanwhile, just keep listening to Ground Zero every day of the week from 5 to 6. And we'll give you all of those details. And still follow us on all our social media handles, Procyon RTV. You'll get up-to-date information in respect of the candidates that will be appearing on Friday on the Meet Your Candidate Forum series. Your Excellency, quite a number of questions. Let's see how we can do justice to them, having it at the back of our mind that we barely have 15 minutes to wrap up the program.
Thank you very much, and thank you, listeners, for the questions that you've asked. It shows that you are taking Kaduna State in your hands, which is what we are looking for, rather than just sitting down and watching the state grind to a halt. Mr. Dixon had asked what assurances we can give the people of Kaduna State that the PDP will not repeat its mistakes if it comes back to power. I want to remind him and other listeners that PDP, right from when it lost power in 2015, by 2016, we came out and told the people of Nigeria that we had failed and we asked for forgiveness. And it's only a repentant person that will come out and do that. But you see the APC today, even in the glaring view of everybody that they have failed, they are coming out to say that they have fulfilled all their promises. So trust us that you've had the basis of 2 parties being in power and you can compare. We are assuring everybody that we have learned our lessons. Maybe some complacency was there. Maybe a few individuals didn't behave well and we didn't quickly handle them. You can be sure that a returning PDP will not allow anybody to mess the party up. We are going to sustain what we have been known for, good governance and taking care of everybody. Mr. Boala Musa Bala, sorry, Mr. Musa Bala had asked on my mentioning of prominent leaders of Kaduna State. I mentioned only Senator Ahmed Mohamed Makarfi. I'm sure it was the thought process. I started with him, but I didn't continue. He was the first PDP governor in Kaduna State. Maybe I lost my thought process. I would have mentioned the fact that after him, Namadi continued with the same policies. And when Yakowa came, the same policies, were consistent. And when Ramalan took over, it was the same thing. What PDP like has a school of governance that there is no way you can come in and behave like the APC government that we have, and people will not hold you accountable within the party itself. We're not talking of Kaduna State citizens or Nigerian citizens. We are saying within the party, the structure is such that there are checks and balances. So, and that's why I'm saying there was a lapse somehow before that 2015, and that is why we lost power. We've learned our lessons, and we will ensure that that is not repeated. So those leaders in Kaduna State and a host of others that I also may not have mentioned, because some were not necessarily governors, but they also played their part in ensuring that the PDP was a successful regime in Kaduna State. Inclusiveness, fair play has always been the bane of PDP. Everybody knows that. And that is why, even from the constitution of the party to the constitution of Nigeria, our constitution is fashioned after the constitution of Nigeria, because the constitution tries to protect every citizen. And that's why it talks about federal character, it talks of inclusiveness. You can't come to Kaduna State and have almost all your commissioners from one local government or even from one ward in Zaria. It will never happen under the PDP, because during the PDP era, every local government had a commissioner. That is how to build inclusiveness. Everybody has a sense of belonging, so that if there are problems and you need to mobilize people to come and solve that problem, it's easy to do it. Common sense dictates that is what we should do. On your program on agric, as I said earlier, it's one of our 5-point agenda that we have in the Isashuru mandate. This government has killed agriculture. We will revive agriculture. The subsidies, not just only on farm inputs, the tractor hiring scheme, we will return to that. We will also ensure that this Kaduna Agricultural Development Project that was in existence, which enabled foreign funding to come to the state, grants, not loans, but because they've taken it and they've built shopping malls for themselves and their cronies, we have to restore some of these things, because we are looking at not only those of us who are elites, who have reached where we can take care of ourselves. What of those who cannot take care of themselves? If they are not safe, I can tell you, no matter how tall the walls we build around our houses, we will never be safe. So we're mindful of that. Somebody, I think Auta had asked about CRK and RIK. Thank you. You also provided, almost an answer to it. Some of us are what we are today, not so much because of what our parents did to us. That is using the stick when we erred to hit us and we cry, and then we learn from it. But the teaching of religion help us to morally form the fabric that enables us to know what is right and wrong. And anybody who will say religion, Islamic religious knowledge, Christian religious knowledge should not be taught in school, I think that is evil. That's the least I can say about it. It's evil. You are trying to create people who will not bother about how others live. You are creating people who don't have an omnipotent being to warn them that what they are doing, there is going to be a sanction. It's never done anywhere. Even in America today, they are bringing back religion in schools. How much less Nigeria, Kaduna State, to say, the mistake that the government makes is, if you have a problem, you don't throw away the baby with the bad water. You remove the baby, throw away the body, the water, get fresh water and put the baby, and the baby will continue to grow. It's misgovernance. I got a call from Wus from Nasarawa.
Awusko.
Oh, is it Wusko? Okay, Awusko from Nasarawa, who asked about
promises.
The need to enlighten. I think it was not a question. He said there is need for us to enlighten the people of Kaduna State and Nigeria so that we can take out this APC. Thank you for reinforcing what we are already doing, and we will ensure that we do that. And please talk to your friends who are still not seeing the dangers of the continuation of APC to know that if we want to live, then APC must die. Comrade Gabriel, the textile industry, it's at the heart of what we want to do. The PDP government, especially during the former vice president, Namede Sambo's time, when he was vice president, the Gurara Dam, they ensured that they build a power plant there. And I think what is left is just to evacuate that power, 30 megawatts, to, I think it's the industrial area, so that the textile mills will be revived. We have people, when you have a government that is interested in prime, some of them are interested in the prime land that the textile factory workers decided to have for themselves because they feel they can build mansions there instead of the small houses that these textile workers are able to afford. Who told you that God doesn't also want the small people to live in the society? So, by the grace of God, we will revive the textile industry by ensuring that power gets to those textile mills. Of course, we'll do that in collaboration with the federal government by ensuring that the importation of foreign textile is controlled so that ours will survive.
Just how many do we still have to respond to?
Just about 3.
Just quickly touch on them because we actually have 2 minutes to wrap up now.
Well, the Donald Ngonkwama is talking of the need for a vibrant leadership. Let me assure you, the PDP leadership of Issa Shiro and myself is vibrant, it is knowledgeable, we know the problems of Kaduna State, and we are going to face them head on and get them out of the way. Engineer Emmanuel, the issue of linking up with other parties, alliances, I had mentioned it earlier. We are working because everybody is feeling the pain of an APC government. And in civilized societies, opposition comes together to ensure that you deal with a bad government. You don't fight individually, because if you fight individually, you are entrenching that bad governance to continue. And I'm assuring you that we have a game plan, and it will ensure that we all work together to oust the APC election. Lastly, somebody asked about, about the sacked workers. There is a contract. A contract is a legal document. Everybody who was employed signed a document. If you were not sacked, or if you were sacked through a process that is not in the contract document, we are a government. We must be the first respecter of the law before we expect our citizens to respect the law. So we will follow through. A committee will be set up. It will look at those who were unjustly sacked. If you still have a tenure to run, we'll bring you back to continue your tenure. If you don't want to return, we must pay you your entitlement so that you go and run your life in other things that you want to do.
We're about to wrap up now, but before we wrap up, what I always do, I will still do.
I think I want to mention something about the entertainment industry.
Okay,
because
quickly in
30
seconds.
It has to do with the youth. That is the industry that has turned out to be one of the best things that have happened to Nigeria. The entertainment industry, both in terms of music and drama and all
films,
these things,
movies and all that.
we will ensure that we encourage the youth to go into it, and we'll also encourage parents to see that that is another profession rather than the way it was looked at during our own times where they said it was rascals. Michael Jackson died a multi-billionaire in dollars. And what do you want? You want your child to be able to take care of himself.
Okay, we must round up now.
Yes.
And like I always do, in a few seconds, look at the viewers and also the listeners hearing and tell them why they need to vote the PDP in 30 seconds.
My viewers from Kaduna State, you have one unique opportunity to redeem yourselves. And that redemption can only come through the PDP ticket of Isa Ashru and myself. Take your destiny in your own hands by voting for the PDP, so that yourself, your children, and generations that will come after you will have a life to live. And I need to tell you that you have no tomorrow if you make a mistake this time.
All right. That's about the size of the program today, so I want to quickly appreciate everybody in the studio that have been part of the program. Most importantly, to the team that made it possible, to Mercy Ofuya, to Nifemi, to Grace, Matthew, to Gabi Okotie, not forgetting the Galu Olufolorunso, Musa Bala, Bomba Dauda, Femi Oyelola, Jacob Onjewo, and Edward Auta. We've been speaking with the Deputy Gubernatorial Candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the person of Dr. John Ayuba. Thank you so much for having time to be on Ground Zero, meet the candidate.
I must thank you for giving us this opportunity.
You're welcome. My name is Ehis Agbon. On Friday from 4 to 6 we'll be on again with another candidate right here on the program, Meet Your Candidate. Between now and then, as always I'll say, plant a tree today, water it, and watch it grow. May the good mighty Lord bless and keep us all.